Yeah, I just want to share a story with you. I showed some buyers some properties a few years ago, and we drove up to this one home, and there was a huge rattlesnake in the driveway, and that ended up being a deal breaker. So, if you're a seller, if you plan on listing your home for sale, it's really important that you rattlesnake proof your home because they can kill a deal like nothing else, especially if the buyers have children. They will not buy your house if they see a rattlesnake. And luckily, we have a really great company and a great guy who runs the company named Bryan Hughes. He owns Rattlesnake Solutions, and he's going to tell us what the easiest ways are to rattlesnake proof your home and what he can do to help you. So go ahead, Bryan, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so we work with homeowners all across Arizona. We catch rattlesnakes if they're at a house, but the thing we really want to focus on is just making it so that rattlesnakes at the property are not something you need to deal with at all. So it is a thing here. We have a lot of people that move here from the Midwest and from Canada that the idea of a rattlesnake or any snake in your yard at all is a very novel thing. But in Arizona, it's just life for us. So it's great to know about those kinds of things so you can intelligently answer those questions for potential buyers. So on a property, and let me know if you have any questions about any of this stuff, but the thing you're looking at the most is just trying to make it so your yard is not habitat. So you want to make sure the yard is completely clean. You want to get to any landscaping or cleanup of construction debris, that kind of thing. You know, often when you're getting ready to sell the home, that's when you remodel the bathroom or get into maintenance. You need to do it as soon as you can and make sure that gets cleaned up as soon as you can. Otherwise, wildlife moves into it. So the best thing you can do, aside from that, and they really work well together, is to do rattlesnake fencing, it's called. So this is not for every snake. This works great for rattlesnakes specifically. Rattlesnakes are made for a life on the ground. They can climb, but they're not great at it. So it's actually pretty easy to make it so that they can't come into a backyard. It's just a physical barrier. So that's a service that we provide. There's other providers of it as well. But what we've really tried to do is work with real rattlesnakes. I mean, you might see around me, these are all rattlesnake cages. So we work with a lot of rattlesnakes. We see them in the wild all the time at homes every day, many times every day. So those types of circumstances where a rattlesnake can get into a yard are things that we know very well, and we also know how to keep them out of it. So that's what would be my recommendation, is long before you decide to put your house in the market, this is something that's really important. It is a pass-fail situation, and you would be surprised how many times rattlesnakes show up at showings and that kind of thing. So
yeah, and the first time I saw a snake out here, it wasn't a rattler, it was a king snake. I ran away screaming. And then I found out that the king snake is actually a good snake to have in your yard. And is it true that they kill rattlesnakes? Is that true?
Yeah, so king snakes, it is true. So king snakes kill and eat rattlesnakes. Coach whips do as well. There are gopher snakes here. Some people call them bull snakes. They don't eat rattlesnakes, but they'll compete with rattlesnakes. So anything that's not a rattlesnake, you want in your yard. So that can be kind of tricky too, because you know, the idea of buying a home, let's say north of the 101 in Scottsdale or Cave Creek, and having it to where there are no snakes there of any kind, it's really unrealistic. So in those circumstances, it comes down to, you know, if you're trying to talk to a homeowner that is very scared of snakes, or a potential homeowner, how well can you address those concerns? And you know, there's a big difference between a snake that might look scary to us and snakes that are dangerous.
Yeah.
So knowing how to answer those questions is very important. You work with the realtors on those topics. You know, you don't have to like snakes or become a snake expert, but it is good to be able to answer a question of your prospective buyers that are moving here from New Jersey.
Bryan, are there certain areas in the desert where you see more snakes, like near a wash? If your house backs up to a wash, are you more apt to see a lot more rattlesnakes? And is it more important to put a fence around your perimeter if you're living near a wash?
Yes. So if you live, the closer you live to the areas that wildlife find important, the more likely you're going to see snakes there. So if you're in a country club area and you're in like the interior streets, you could still see snakes at any time, but it's not as much of a certainty as it is if you live on the perimeter of that. Especially if you're the house that's on the corner. So a lot of the properties that are here, these neighborhoods are built with a shared wall behind them, and often there's a drainage behind there. The snakes tend to hit that wall and it's like a funnel. They go one way or the other. So the houses on the end or closest to the inlets are the ones that get the most snakes. And then it drops off very dramatically from there. The next house over might get half as many, and then the third house might get half as many as that. But there definitely are, basically the closer you are to open access to the desert, the more snakes that you can have in your yard.
Is there certain plant life that attracts them more than others? Like any type of bushes or cactus that attracts you? Because you said they like the shade, they want to stay cool.
Mm-hmm.
So are there a lot of, just name a few plants that are ideal for the rattlesnakes to hide in, and that would be the kind of plant you don't want near your yard. So
yeah, the top ones are fun because they are installed by default at more or less any new home. You can find them in, 95% of the homes in Phoenix is lantana. Any of the lantanas in rosemary. The reason why snakes like that, it's not because they're attracted to the plant, it's because those plants tend to be overwatered and under-maintained. I mean, they have a lot of leaf litter under them that's usually damp. So it attracts rodents. It's a great place to hide. And the fun one about rosemary is that there's a myth out there that rosemary repels rattlesnakes. So I've met people who spend a lot of money planting rosemary all over their yard. And the reason I'm there meeting them is because I'm catching a rattlesnake that's been sleeping in it. From our experience in talking and working with realtors and property managers and developers is how well you can address this issue. If you're a seller or a realtor or anybody that is trying to communicate with somebody who might be scared of snakes, just as important as keeping the snakes away is making them feel better about it. A few things that I can say off the top of my head is that, whether you do this before or after, doing snake preventative work is very easy. If you lived in Florida, you have alligators. If you live in, Idaho, you have grizzly bears. Every place has its region. Also, nobody in Arizona dies from rattlesnake bites. It is a thing that exists largely in our heads. So, it's not going to make someone that's really scared of snakes feel better, but it can go a long way. And we talk to anybody that wants to hear that. So please, if someone has questions about it, you can ask us. We'll tell anyone that they want to know.
Having rattlesnakes here, the desert is a great place to live, and you may not see a rattlesnake for years. I think that I lived here maybe 5 years before I saw my first rattlesnake. So there's so many other wonderful reasons to live in the desert that outweigh the little rattlesnake problem you may or may not ever have. So
easily, I'm never moving anywhere else. This is home.
Me too. I love it here. So thanks so much for all the information you gave us. And if you do encounter a rattlesnake on your property, give Bryan a call. His contact information is on the end of this video. And if you need a realtor, I'll be glad to help you. So give me a call. Thank you so much.